Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Growing Up Alien. And we have Jesse serenading. I'm not sure if it's picking up here on the microphone, but yeah, he's in the other room. So, um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I haven't really posted much. Um, this is such a very unusual turn of events here, I think, one thing that strikes me odd is the craft or the suspected increase. I mean I've always had craft overhead, so I can't really say that this is like a necessary increase. I just never had a good cell phone camera to take pictures of it, and I never really cared. Um, but it's definitely strange, I'm like, why fly? And again, it's not just me. There's I have friends who have craft like that overnight too. They fly and fly. So like what is that, right? And um I've been watching a few, which I don't generally do, but I've just kind of been watching a few things to see like what, if any, kind of theories seem to be fitting together. So, and the answer is no. When you look at it, and one of the things I always stress is that there's no proof, right? There's nobody has any proof. People come on and they tell all these stories, but there's no proof really. And I don't say I have any proof either. And the only way that kind of makes sense for me is to get in contact with a lot of regular people, that aren't going to conventions, that aren't that to me is those are always a little red flaggy for me. Not that they're bad people or they're deceptive. They're not. I'm not trying to say that at all. I wouldn't say that at all. Um, yeah, it's just I try to stick primarily with people who do not do any of those things. And then we corroborate that way. That is all we have. And mostly these people, like myself, we all kind of say the same thing. Is any of this really real? And does any of it make sense? Um, or is that just because there's this brainwashing and programming here that we've gone through? So ultimately, I guess we get to the point where it's like it wouldn't make any sense that there would be one planet where life would exist. That doesn't make any sense. I don't really subscribe to the simulation thing either. That to me just doesn't resonate. Um, what seems to make the most sense to me is something more like a Star Wars type scenario of many different civilizations. And we've been told there's thousands. I don't know. Um, that are kind of existing with each other like nations do here on this one planet, where sometimes it's cool and everybody's happy and sometimes it's not. That makes the most sense to me. I never subscribe to the paradise concept. I think you can create paradise anywhere. It's what is paradise, right? Because one person's paradise wouldn't be another person's paradise, right? So yeah, it's definitely like for me it just comes. I mean, being an academic, and I'm such an academic. It's like it's ingrained like so much. And that's probably a bad thing. Like I said, there's good and bad everywhere. Um, but I just have to see pieces make sense. That's the only way it works for me. And you know, looking into the history of UFOs and contact and all that. And of course, my friend, as I showed you, as I did a little video with Patrick, his grandmother saw a UFO in the 1940, around 1942. And they found those family letters, and I had done a video on that already. So that's interesting. And they had asked her, Mom, are you sure it was, what was it? Was a plane, was a weather balloon, was it tinfoil, was it birds? She's like, no, And here's this woman in 1942 that, was not into this stuff. No idea, probably never saw sci-fi. It's 1942, right? For her to be like, I saw something that made no sense. So that's interesting. I think testimony, for me, makes sense, and testimony, particularly from regular people. I'm one of these people that does not really like military testimony. And I'm not saying it's because the military lie. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's harder evidence for me to hear testimony from a woman like that who wouldn't be really necessarily controlled by anyone. And she never told a story. So it was just in the family rather than some military person who is controlled. If you're in the military, you're 100% controlled. They're not stepping forward out of the blue with information. And they've even said that, where they were, debriefed and all that kind of crap. So that's always a bit of a red flag for me, anything that comes out of the military. Um, there's just a lot going on right now that doesn't hold water for me. So we know, according to these the old school contactees, which were the physical contactees, their photos and videos have been analyzed. It's very difficult to fake stuff without the technology that we have today. You're looking at somebody taking pictures in the 50s, right? 60s, 70s, and 80s. You did not have access to, your average person did not have access to anything like the technology we have today to alter or create some of these images. So the only way you can prove what they have is to take their photos and video and analyze it, which has been done. Not all of them, but enough to say like, okay, this has not been doctored. So that's interesting. Then you look at this at the progression. So we have the sightings, which seem to have happened. Well, there was a contactee. We have Albert Coe, who was a contactee, that Frank Chile personally met. So that holds water for me. Who is this person? What is their story? I don't want second, third hand information, really, if I can. Obviously these people are dead now, so you're going to get first. You're not going to get first. So Frank met him personally. That's interesting to me. All right. That helps to kind of raise the bar a little bit. So then we shift from the Venusians, largely Venusian contact. They come down, hey, I'm Fred from Venus, blah, blah, blah. Here's a ship. You want to go for a ride, all that stuff. So we shift from that to the astral contact, the very, very limited physical contact. Well, I'm not talking about abduction stuff. I'm talking about supposedly benevolent contact. All right. We all know about the other stuff. That's of no real benefit. So they shift from the physical contact to the astral contact. Okay. Because the physical contact was getting dangerous. And we know this from the contactees themselves that, almost all of their lives were destroyed. Even those who were trying to be quiet, they still had significant impact on their lives. So then they shift to that kind of thing. So you're like, well, all right, what the hell is that? Right. So it really is a soup pot of curiosity at this point. And yes, you have things like the crop circles, right? Those are definitely, some might be fake, but they're certainly not fake. I mean, impossible that somebody could do that. And that's also vindicated by the fact that there's radiation left after the crops, or where would that come from? And the nodes on the grains of the plants showing increased growth, which would make no sense again. So you have to put stuff, to me, two and two together, and that makes sense. And now here we are, standing here in November of 2025. We've heard stories, about things occurring for ever, basically, at this point. We're all living the same life that we've been living. Maybe a few things change. Other than that, you're still living an Earth life, aren't you? There's no magic in outside my window. I mean, other than nature, I don't know. Maybe some folks are having magic happen outside theirs. Like I said, it makes no sense to me why these things are flying overhead. What are they? That like, what's the point? I don't know. Um, we have a million theories right now as to what's going to be happening, you know. I always tell people to take, physical contact with a grain of salt. And the ones that I value are the people again that don't come forward. And I do talk to people who have had physical contact and they don't come forward, or they're very nervous about coming forward and they just don't want to come forward. The ones that run around talking about and monetizing their physical contact, that's a concern for me. Not that it's wrong to do that or what have you. In fact, I have not monetized my YouTube channel. This, as you can see, there's no commercials here because I can monetize my YouTube channel, but I haven't. Frankly, I don't think it's really almost worth it. I mean, I think you make a pittance on it. Is why would I go through the trouble? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe just for curiosity, see what happens. So, well, like I said, here we are. There are some anomalies or some strange things that we need to try to make sense of. I never tell people to believe me or whatever. My whole point of doing this is to get people to think and to reason, because you need to do. I just think, well, that's just, again, it's personally, it's my opinion. You need to do that. So here's the deal with physical contact for these people who say they're going out in space and whatever, all that kind of things. So now, if you're in the military, they can. I mean, you could literally be going. I don't know. What would be the purpose? What are they doing? Is it, secret space program, solar wardens? I call it space farce. Who are these people? They're not, what concerns me about all of them is their deception. So that's a problem. Now, Bill Tompkins, Frank Chile has worked with Bill Tompkins. They have over 20 hours of testimony from Bill Tompkins that they've worked with him personally. They've talked to him personally. Dr. Wood has a parent who has passed, obviously, and now his son's doing the work that he's done. Risked his career and bringing this Bill Tompkins story forward. Bill Tompkins said, that Dr. Wood pretty much, hung him out to dry to find out, legitimacy of what he was going to be telling for information. Okay, that's for sure. So if we consider Bill Tompkins and the work that he did and what he was privy to with the think tanks that he worked with, and of course the Navy. The Navy then has had spacecraft, militarized spacecraft, for quite some time. Then we have the Fourth Reich and the Fifth Reich. So some of the craft that you saw flying over the Capitol building, some of the craft you wonder now, some of the craft that people have been citing back in the day, 40s, 50s, maybe even onward, were they German Dark Fleet craft? Okay, so that's a distinct, possibility, which then tells us that you have had Terran Earthling, right, interstellar capabilities, militarized interstellar capabilities. This isn't just, some guy, he's like, there was some guy in his backyard, he made himself a craft, just to go up and have some fun. No, this is military, right? So these are all something like the Nazis again. It's a military society that is interstellar. So there's that aspect. What are they doing? And why are they so secret? That's all red flags for me, very, very dark, very secret, blah, blah, blah. All right. Governments aren't admitting anything anywhere in the world to this stuff. And then of course, obviously, if they are, and they are, I mean, I personally feel they are, that they are interested. They have all this tech. Why aren't they giving it to us? Why is it so secret? Why is every inch of it pulling teeth? This is all red flags to me. And then, okay, I just want to set that up. So they're very secretive. They're not telling us anything. Why, right? What are they doing in space? Who are they working with, right? Everything's alleged, because there's really no proof. There's no. There's no, well, even, I mean, 'cause I know a lot of us, think, well, no, there's this, I think this and that. But yeah, but the question is, all right, why is that all hidden? Right? Because that's 100% real, right? This stuff is hidden. None of this is on the level. None of this is being shown to the people on this planet. Why is that? And we're talking about, and this has been going on for God knows how long, but decades anyway. That's a concern, right? So, are they planning a birthday party? Like, is it just going to be one big secret, like surprise? I mean, are they all loving and benevolent? They just can't wait. One day they're going to come out and be like, "Oh, we just wanted to surprise you guys with all this great stuff." Maybe, I mean, then maybe, right? Um, but anyway, like I said, I mean, I'm just suspect about people who do things behind an entire globe's back. It's like, so that's an issue. I have a problem with that. And then we have the secret space program and the MK Ultra and all that on top of it, which would likely involve millions of people. How many are still alive? I don't know. Right? How many were killed in the programs? I don't know. But we still don't have any admission to the general population on this planet that there were these programs. So we have patents and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's all behind the scenes. I mean, if you're doing this stuff, shouldn't you say, oh, you know what? We've been doing this and blah, 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 right? None of that. None of these people, this is the point I'm trying to make here, is that none of this information is being admitted to publicly. Why is that? That's the question. Why? So then that leads to other aspects. Okay, one of the theories out there is that, well, the governments have been, hiding all this information and all this stuff, because they're just getting everybody ready. They love you, or then they want to unite with the other, interstellar communities, and it's all going to be Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Okay, all right, that's a theory that's out there. My problem with that theory is that, and I could be completely wrong, these Earth military governmental groups have done some extremely nasty things. Right? They've been lying, so their track record. Let's just say it was a court case, right? I mean, they're the Nuremberg Code violations that we actually can prove. Through events and through patents and military projects that we have proof of these things. They're Nuremberg Code violations, which is a little like makes them a little sketchy in my opinion. It's a little bit of a red flag there. So yeah, it's not like they had little transgressions like oops, which is cool. I mean, that can happen. No one's perfect. I don't expect me to be perfect. The transgressions of this industrial military complex are severe. So all of a sudden now they're all like, oh, well, now we've seen the error in our ways and now we want to fix it and make everything great for you at 100% our expense, because they're going to lose. I mean, when they come forward with all this stuff, it's 100% lose for them. Since when does the enemy in a war decide if even that is, I don't even know if that's the case. When do they just, oh, yeah, we're just gonna stop fighting now and just kind of like say we're sorry and fix everything for you. Okay. I've never seen that happen, but maybe that doesn't mean this wouldn't be the first time. Keeping along the same theory there. So we have these benevolent space, Earth, Terran, whatever, programs that have now become benevolent, right? They're working with benevolent extraterrestrials, right? This is the alliance, right? And they can't wait to be friends with us. They can't wait to save the day for us, whatever they're gonna do. Okay, all right, that's a theory. I can't disprove it. I can't disprove this theory, right? Any more than I could prove it. And they want us to be self-determining and all that kind of stuff. Okay, all right, yeah, I get that. So why are they doing everything behind our backs? This is if they're trying to give us our power back, whatever you want to call it, right? You know, have the people on this planet take control, right? Then why aren't they giving us the power to do that? Why are they usurping all of our power? Why are they doing everything behind our back? Why are they not giving us a say? Why don't they ask the people on this planet? How do you even know that the people on this planet want what they're doing, whatever that is? Let's say it's benevolent. Let's say it's that. Maybe the people on this planet don't want that. Have they been asked? No. So how is that giving power to a group of people? I mean, even when you go to the grocery store, you ask people in your family, right? What do they want? You don't just go to the grocery. Well, maybe you do. But if you wanted them to have a say, you'd ask them, well, what do you want? I'm going to the grocery store. We're not given any say at all as to what's happening. Whether you believe in the admirals or whatever the hell, it doesn't matter who they are or what they claim to be. It's like this. The point of the matter is they're not involving us. We're not being involved. And I don't mean the starseeds, I mean everyone on this planet, right? We're not being given any rights whatsoever towards anything to do with our future. So that's a red flag for me. Anyway, it's just me, right? Another concern I have is, again, with these craft, you don't know where they're coming from. They could be, I mean, are they coming from space or are they coming from the Earth? You don't know. So they could be coming from an underground source. And now you think they're coming from space, but they're not. They're coming from out of the ocean. They're coming from a base. Who knows? Um, their purpose is completely unknown. And I know you have people that claim they're up in space talking to ETs and all that. I get it. But you have no idea. There's no proof whatsoever of what they're telling you is real. And it can put you in real danger. And this is just my perspective of this. Because we're being asked to basically put 100% of our live faith, whatever, in some storyline that we have no proof of. And who's even creating the storyline? So they have the capacity to tell you anything. They can completely mind control you. You could think they can set up a simulation where you would be 100. That's what I'm saying. I'm not calling any of these people liars or anything. They're not. Some are. I mean, they use common sense. Who is whatever. It's up to you. But they can create a complete simulation for you where you would be like, oh my God, I just went up in space. I was on Jupiter. I was on Saturn. I was blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I mean, in your mind, that would be, you really experienced that, but the whole thing was fake. And there's no way of knowing what's real and what's not. That's how good these guys are. So but what is the purpose of that either? I don't understand that. I don't understand it. Just weird to me. This idea of contact is going to be sketchy. And here's why. So the let's just say, for argument's sake, that the industrial military complex is nefarious. They have nefarious agendas because we have no way of knowing if they're nefarious or benevolent. None. They're not. If anything, they're showing the nefarious. I mean, they're not showing any benevolence to us right now. Zero. So now that may be part of the psyop. Good cop, bad cop. I don't know. That's the problem. We don't know. None. But the capacity of them being nefarious could be very, very bad. So they could create, as you know, the blue beam, whatever. It may not even be blue beam. It could be legit. Where they're going to land craft. This is where in my opinion, I would never go to any group CE5 events. I would never go to any contact events like that. I think it's extremely dangerous. Because here's why. You have no idea what's going on there. No idea. And you have no way to escape that. So the government right now, I mean, the industrial military complex has the ability to extract us and sell us in space at any moment. They're just not. I don't know why. Um, I guess it doesn't, I don't know. They don't want, I mean, it just seems like they're trying to keep the, what it looks like, right? Is business as sneaky usual out there. Okay, that's what it looks like. With a lot of carrot dangles and a lot of can kicking and a lot of like theatrical situations that they're feeding people. So you, like I said, you don't know where these craft are coming from. You don't know where they're coming from space. You don't know where they're coming from Earth or both. We're essentially property of this planet. I mean, I can't, I don't know. I mean, I'll just be honest, right? I don't think anybody's coming and going from this planet en masse and living a free life where you can come and go and visit other planets. And I think we're all locked down here. That's evidence seems to suggest that. Why, right? Why can't we leave the planet? Who's preventing us from leaving the planet? Who's preventing us from accessing the technology that is on the planet and it is off the planet? Let's, for argument's sake, say, yeah, they have never, I know it's all bullshit. I mean, there's you people out there still think that they haven't created, electrogravitic propulsion. Yeah, you do you. Um, well, others have. Why aren't they being allowed to come in here and interact with us and trade and treat us like normal beings, right? Why are we being denied our full experience as beings? That's a red flag for me. I don't understand that. So you don't know, like I said, who's coming down and for what. Because it is, and some people have mentioned this. So it is possible that this could be a large financial windfall for the industrial military complex and that they could sell off the excess. So there's a lot of excess on this planet. Well, and I've mentioned this before. The Terrans on this planet have really, done a great job at breeding more of themselves and their excess at this point. You can just see it in the financial systems. People are struggling to survive. There's an excess right now. We've created an abundant crop. So it would, where this crop is useless, basically here, you have a lot of useless people on this planet. That's just common sense. However, this crop is worth a lot of money. Well, I'm going to use the word money. They don't sound, they trade and trade. I'm just going to say money to make it easier. You have a very valuable commodity on this planet, Terrans. So they don't seem to want to round them up, like like since you can really work cattle for them, and I don't think cattle should be, I don't believe in, cattle are beings, they have feelings, they're loving animals. I don't see cattle as cattle. So it's like, but according to the cabal, that's what we are. We're a crop. So they're not hurting us all up and, selling us in some livestock market upstairs. They're not doing that. We're of no value to them here, but we're worth a lot of money at an auction up there. What if they've been feeding a lot of this information out there to all these, disclosure, ET, contactee feeds, right? All they have to do is create a Trojan horse event. You have to bring down a craft because they got to get you out there to where they can sell you. Bring down craft or bring up craft, either way. Well, they're going to come, you know what I mean? They're going to come down and up things. And in those, they can do that event that people are looking for, right? Who's going to be first contact? Oh, the Nordics. They're going to be the first contact. Oh, they're so beautiful. And they're all going to come and, and meet your family again. So they bring down, they bring, and they have these fake, they have these weird, well, there's nefarious Pleiadians, you know that. And there's quite a bit of nefarious. So not everybody on every planet is nice. It's like everywhere. There are a lot of people who could be Tau Ceti, Alpha Centauri, whatever, who are, basically pirates. And there's a lot of money to be had in selling Terrans. So they could come down. They could be, or they could not come down. Well, you know what I mean? They could run the craft. Hi, I'm Uncle Fred from, Alpha Centauri. Great to see you. Why don't you come up, right? And these craft could take on willingly. So you'd be going willingly at this point. And that's what they want. You to willingly. So you've basically willingly like entered the slaughterhouse, basically. So that could very well be the case. And what they can do in space with you is if you think Earth's bad, you're going to be in a really, really bad situation. And this is the main reason actually why Ika has so much PTSD and why he resigned immediately. Like almost the next day. Actually, no, it was the next day. Going back, I'm gonna try. I have very poor memory. Um, uh, so they had their plan for him was to extract his consciousness. They cannot kill. So this they can't kill your consciousness. That can never die, but it can be used. So all they have to do is take it out of your body, and they can do that very easily. And that's what they were going to plan on for him. So he has a fate worse than death. When you go upstairs, and even on this planet, you can never die. It's like they can just keep containing your consciousness, that fractal of your soul. And they can use it for whatever they want. They can keep putting it into bodies, yada, yada, yada. So that was their plan for him. And that is terror. And they do this. There are people, there are a lot of beings who are now enslaved forever, basically. Their consciousness has been taken and it keeps being controlled. And if you think the soul trap's bad, this is worse. So they could do this. So yeah, a ship could land, anyone could come out. Oh, this is great. You go on, and now you're sold into slavery. And they could do this with millions of people, millions, over and over and over again, because you never heard from them again. They've been selling people this way, but now this could be like, hey, we could manufacture, we have an excess of resources, inventory on this planet, massive excess. There's way, way, way too many people on this planet, completely useless. They're not doing us any good whatsoever. And they're worth a lot, though. That's the key. So it's kind of like, you're a farmer and you raise cattle, right? The cows, you got too many cows right now. It's of no use to you, but there's a market for those cows. So that's what you got. And that's reality. Because obviously right now, the way it is on this planet is a massive overpopulation. And where quality of life for most people is in the crapper. You have, sure, there's lots of I got mine groups. So the thing with the people who think that who are in the I got mine, right? There are a lot of people on this planet who got a lot of stuff. They're happy. They got houses galore, cars. They're happy, whatever. They're no worries financially. They're all set. They're just buying themselves the last to die. They're still in. So you can look at somebody who has a lot of money. They don't have to work. They're happy. Everything's great. They're still property of this planet. They're not free. They're still property. So at any time that could end. So people who think they have a lot of resources, I still hear people like, oh, I want to start investing in silver, or I want to invest in, I want to, once this market goes, you're an idiot. You're property. They're not going to do anything to make life good for anybody on this planet. You're property. They're only doing stuff to make life good for them. This, that's just, whatever. So this will lead into what I want to just maybe show, like I said, I don't know what to tell you. You can't really trust. I mean, I tell people, like I said, you want to go ahead, but I just think it's important to have the information that there could be some very, very bad things. And the thing is, what I sense is that the more that we talk about this, the less they're likely to do it. Because now they're like, oh, yeah, you kind of like expose it in a way. But that doesn't mean that they won't do it. So I'm gonna maybe I'll share my screen here. There it goes. All right. So nice little picture. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at that wonderful, loving Oh, look at this. Oh, I read Billy Meyer. That looks like a Pleiadian that's here to save me. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to get fucked with that. So honestly, I mean, and this is a concern for me because those ships that you see, if they are, I don't know what they are, ships or orbs, what they're plasma things, whatever. But anyway, those ships that you see 60,000 feet up can come down in less than a second. They can be right there. They don't even have to come down. They can suck you up. I mean, use no. I've had people ask me this, and so I used to do little talks around, just to get people aware of, not because I would do little talks. I don't do them anymore. My purpose was to educate people. They were free. You can't hide. There is no hiding. They know where you are if they want you. So it's like, yeah. So are we going to be dealing with, beings from other planets that love you and want to make you happy? Maybe, I don't know. Um, they haven't done much for me. I don't know about you guys, but I I went through the ringer and I know a lot of you guys did too. So I don't know. Maybe. But you don't know. So something that a lot of these is this the psyop, right? That they've co-opted. Maybe, they've taken a lot of these contactees. Maybe it's me, maybe it's you, right? Maybe it's all of us and given us this story. Because there's literally no way you can be sure of your memories. Are they your memories or are they fake? You don't know. Are they real or are they memories? It's like, um, I don't know. So hard to say what's so there are, and I'm just going to go by, I don't know how else to say this. I'm just going to go by what I know, what I supposedly have seen in these memories. Um, there are humanoids. Travis Walton actually is a great contactee to, he was an abductee. Let me read. Travis Walton, he was the guy that was missing for like a week or more. And he went up on a ship and he saw humanoids on that ship. And he's like, oh shit, these guys they're human. They're going to help me. And they were just weird. They were like this. They were just stairs. It was funny. I was talking to Ika. I was shopping the other day. And when I go out in public, this is what I look like. That's my expression. I don't see anybody. I'm like just containing my energy. I'm like blank stare. I don't look anybody in the eye. It's like, yeah. I'm like, well, wait a minute. You know what? I said, I could be a great example of these regressive ETs. This is what they look like. They look like me. It's like, and Ika's like, yeah, that you would actually be a great, like, yeah. Um, so they have this look, this blank, like I said, they're like me. They have this blank stare. They're very cold. They look human, but they don't feel human, just like me. They're very, very disconnected, mile long, going to a funeral, brainwashed stare. That's what you're going to see with these beings. I suspect these are the ones I saw. These are the ones that Travis Walton saw. There have been many accounts of folks, and I like people like Travis Walton because he never ran around. I mean, he did express his story, but you could see in him that it was not a really fun experience. This is the thing that gets me with a lot of these secret space program MK Ultra people, and I don't mean James Martinez because he's definitely stressed. But the ones who go to the conferences and they're all doing selfies and smiling like it's a, a reunion of a rock band, or, I'm at an SSP conference. Look at me. Here's my selfie. I'm all happy and smiling. It's like, yeah, it's like, yeah, all right. Well, hey, because I don't judge people. You do you. That feels weird to me. I don't understand how you can be so happy that, you know, bad things happen, really, really bad things happen to you, and you're just really happy to tell your story. Okay, like I said, everybody's different. You do you. I don't understand those people, but that doesn't mean they're not great people. Whatever. Anyway, I tend to resonate towards people who are like horrified by what happened to them and are like, that really sucked. That really sucked. So this is generally what you want to be careful of. Generally. There are, like I said, from what I've seen of myself, when I bilocated that night and I saw, what I look like, I'm definitely odd. I mean, I'm not gonna, I never try to tell anybody I'm not odd. I'm an odd person. I rarely smile. I'm creepy. I'm a cold person because of what I've experienced. And I don't like to be that way, but it is what it is. So, there are benevolent ETs that could look similar to this, and they actually are the good guys. You just got to go by what you feel. But largely the ones that I've talked to some suspicious. I know they're not benevolent, tall, and other, Nordic types like this that have been sketched, and they still have a consciousness. They're not synthetic, but they're definitely sketch. And you have to understand that there are a lot of there are a lot of beings and races and species, and some that would look just like a regular human, that see you as a Terran as nothing but a peach to be sold. So there are a lot of extraterrestrials out there, and some that the Andromedans and the Arcturians that are like you basically are nothing to them. Not that they don't like you, it's just you're not even in their radar. And that's realistic. So there's a lot of interesting things. And I've showed this before. This is similar to some of the ones I've seen that were working for the military. And they just have this weirdness to them. It's very coldness. It's just they don't feel right to me. And I would just be very careful. And you don't owe anybody anything. I don't care if they're, I mean, at this point, if you're going to meet an extraterrestrial, this is just my approach. They're going to have to prove to you that they're benevolent, and they can mind control you. Any extraterrestrial can mind. We are so broken here in this body, and I know I'm talking to people who are ET. Your consciousness is extraterrestrial, but your body does not have the hardware. It's like, this body does not have the hardware to process the intel that your consciousness could do. And then you have to ask yourself why, right? If we're the military, supposedly for these other ET races that are here to assist this planet, why are we deliberately not being given the hardware that we need to do our job? Why are we still in a compromised position? I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. But you are. Right now, you are in a compromised position against any extraterrestrial. They can run rings around you. So what do you do? I don't know. I really don't know. I can't find, oops, let me go back to the picture I have here. Oops. No, not this picture. Yikes. All right. This one here. This is a military. There was one I can't find it, and it's of the same guy. This is during the time of Bill Tompkins. So they would have what they call the Nordic Navy. That actually these Nordics were working, and they never really revealed. Bill said, they never. He would ask, "Where are you from?" They never say. All right, whatever. But they were extraterrestrial, and this is one of them. This guy could be a hell. And he was working in the military, and they would cut their hair short and everything, to blend in. This is typically what in the hell would, there's no typical us. We all look, it's like upstairs, they all look different. I had another picture, like I said, I can't find. But but this isn't an extraterrestrial that was working with the military. This is another famous photo. I'm just bringing it up again because I just going to explain something here. There's Val and Don and, Jillian. So if you look at Jillian and you look at Dawn, that they have an energy about them that feels like a person. This is literally the only thing I can tell people right now. When you look at them and they're benevolent, they look like a person. That's all I got. Like, you just looking at these people, right? They don't feel weird. They feel like there's something inside. They feel like they have compassion. Julian's smiling there. She feels like a real woman. Dawn looks bored. I'd be like Dawn. I know. I think Val's reading the newspaper, the comics or something. It's like they just look like real people. That's all I can say. That would be a green light for me. This would be, a green light. But I always tell people, look, they will not feel bad if you demand something. Like I'm in a really bad situation here. I can't trust anybody. I don't really know who you are. Legitimately, I don't know who you are. You know, and I'm basically giving up everything right here. I'm giving up my consciousness. I'm giving like I am in such a vulnerable position in front of you, and I don't care if right now we got nothing because you're going to be facing beings like that unless, like I said, unless there's some magic hat trick and we get our conscious we get a body that can fully express what our consciousness could do. Right now, that ain't there. Um, so we're extremely vulnerable right now. Very vulnerable. And I don't mean that in a weekend or a fear. I'm not a fear porn person. I'm not trying to fear. I'm just trying to give people facts. So this is not fear porn. This is prudence, right? I mean, if you're in your house, you come home to your house and you smell smoke and you're like, oh, what do you do, right? If you came home to your house, like, God forbid, you came home to your house, do, right? It's a Wednesday night, blah, do, right? And all of a sudden you smell smoke. What do you immediately do? Uh-oh, I smell smoke. Do you ignore it? Oh, well, I'm not a fear porn person, so I'm not going to let the smell of smoke bother me. Well, you'd be a fucking moron, wouldn't you? Right? So you'd be like, oh, I smell smoke. Oh, the fire alarm's going off. You go upstairs. Oh, there's a fire, right? It's like, whoa, I got a problem here that I need to address, right? That's not fear porn. That's common sense. So you immediately call the fire department. You say, I got a big problem at that fire. They come out. This is the thing I have a problem with the idea of the ETs aren't here to save us. Okay, I understand that. So let's say for shits and giggles, there's a galactic federation that's a benevolent organization that flies around like happy campers, and they supposedly help other societies that are in danger, right? So, something like the fire department. Now, we've been told that this federation, who actually that's their job, is to fly around and help. Isn't that their job? Okay. All right. So we've been told that, well, they're not coming to save us. I'm like, all right, but, and that's cool. I get that. But isn't that their job to help beings when they're in distress and they do not have the power to help themselves? Just like it'll be like, okay, so here's let's go back to our scenario with the fire department, right? You in your house, you smell smoke, there's a fire. Ooh, you call the fire department, right? The fire department says, oh yeah, well, see, we're not going to help you because you need to learn how to help yourself. Well, you'd be like, what the fuck? Wait a minute, you're the fire department, you put out fires. Yeah, we do, but we want you to save yourself. We want you to put out your own fire so that you can feel proud. Like, what? What the fuck? Exactly. So when people tell you that there aren't benevolent, like let's call them a police force, a benevolent police force upstairs, right? That flies around and saves other people who are in need because, well, that's their job. But they're not going to save you because, yeah, that's bullshit in my opinion. Bullshit. Something's going on. Something's going on. All right. Because they're not stupid. And the fact that they're not, or I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I just want to get people to start. I mean, that's, I mean, again, I'm an academic, so I want to understand stuff. I want to make stuff has to add up for me. I don't believe in all this. Oh, you feel your way. Just feel. Oh, I can feel love. And that's true. I mean, I've met Jillian. She's a really nice person. She really is. And your family, your upstairs family, your ET family, you know, they love you, right? But they're powerless. Jillian is just one person. Your family is just one family. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't have answers for a lot of this stuff. It just doesn't, none of it makes sense to me. None of it is making sense. And if they do try to do something like this is the problem with contact. With who? Contact with who? We've already had contact and it sucked. It's like we had contact, right? So what's this new contact that's supposed to be coming or is already here or whatever? So I'm going to give you the story here. There was a woman and her name was Dolores Barrios. That's a fake name, obviously. And there was an extraterrestrial convention that happened in 1954 in California. And there were some well-known speakers there. This was a big convention. And the majority were Venusian contactees. I'll talk about the convention in a little bit, but I just want to show you this woman. Her name is Dolores Barrios. Now, I suspect, and the problem with any of these stories about is this person from Venus? Is she an extraterrestrial? She was not born on Earth. She's a human, but she wasn't born on Earth. Is that the case? You're going to have so many psyops around that because you're going to have people tell you stories that no, this Dolores Barrios is a real person. She had a family. She died here, yada, yada, yada. And then you're going to have the story of what happened at this California convention from what people supposedly witnessed at this convention. Now, this woman was at the convention with two other men. When, this is just what I've been told. I don't know, right? That's the problem with this whole thing, right? We're all being told stuff. We're all being telepath stuff. We're all being woo-woo, voodoo, black magic stuff. Where's the proof? I don't know. When extraterrestrials bring a woman here on this planet, they always have a male escort. So this lines up with that story. They don't bring women down here without a male escort. And Bill Tompkins remembers this. When we worked with these women, like Jessica and all that, they always had a male escort. So here is this woman with two men. There you go. The two men are like background figures because they're the escorts. That's what I feel from this. People give me pictures all the time of people and they say, is this an ET? And I can usually there's just a vibe. I can tell you if they are and they're not. It's take it with a grain of salt. That's just how I mean, I don't know. You just you gotta move forward some way. And I just move forward in a way that I feel makes sense. My suspicion is this woman is not from Earth. She's a human, but she's not born here. I just have a sense from that. And then there's secondary characteristics about her structure that vibe with that, as well as the two men. I don't know if you can quite see it here, if you can blow it up. I'm going to show a couple of pictures. Maybe you can see it there. She has an unusual forehead structure. There is a strange, like the way her nose is set, of course, her eyes are quite large. There are aspects to her physical structure, like her cheekbones and things like that, that are unusual. I'm not trying to, and this is the problem. You got suggestion. Is it corroboration or is it suggestion? I don't know. So anyway, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. If you look at her forehead, there's like a strange bony protuberance there that runs from a straight line from the top of her head down through her nose. That's interesting. So during this convention, people immediately they immediately saw her and they said, you're not from here. during the convention itself. But she said, "Oh, no, 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 I'm from hee, I'm a, you know, blah blah blah." And I'll move forward here to some other pictures. I have another. All right. So this is the convention for the there's a lot of videos out here of this convention. I don't know if this photo is better to see that on her forehead. There's that like a bony line that runs down her nose. She was blonde with black eyes. Her irises were black and her hair was blonde. That's unusual. So well, she wouldn't nowadays you can wear contacts, right? Not in 1954. Where would she get black contacts in 1954? Yeah. So 1954, Mount Palomar, that was the UFO convention. So she had these two male escorts. Here's one of them wearing what I would suspect is costume glasses. They will do that. They'll cut their hair. That's the thing. Put long hair on this guy. He's got unusual structure. I mean, again, in my opinion. And the other guy that was there as well is this one. I have to say again, he has an unusual facial structure. They can pass, obviously. And they're humans, just like Earth Terrans, they're all different races with all different features. I suspect these were her two male escorts. Now, these guys could be 250 years old. You don't, um, this corroborates what Albert Coe and other contactees would have had. Albert Coe's wife remembers, he has all these young men that come to the house. And those young men were not born here. They largely will look like this. Like I said, these guys could be, 200 years old. You don't know. I suspect they're her escorts. One of the guys at the convention came forward and said, "Can I take your picture?" And they all said, "No, no, no, no. We don't want our pictures taken." No, he took pictures anyway. Like I said, they told stories. The two guys said, "Oh yeah, we're both musicians from California, blah blah," and they could be. They come down here and they take jobs, any kind of job, anywhere. They have to change jobs a lot because they don't age, so they move around, and most people wouldn't notice. There's just a vibe. That's how you know right away. There are aspects to their features that are different. And they're not necessarily going to, they're going to wear obviously regular clothes, and they're going to have, a lot of the men will have short hair to kind of really blend in, like I said. And this is great for those folks, largely males who don't like the idea of of our men being attractive. That seems to really grind their gears for some reason. This is what we look like. These two guys, I like these two guys. This is what ET men look like. So hopefully, right? What I show you is just AI. I don't have a photo of my husband, and I don't have a photo of these other men from anywhere. So they're AI, which tends to make things look really weird, really little wonky. But this is what, I'll go back to the other guy. This is what they look like. So hopefully, that it's a human. Hopefully, for all the men who get super pissed off and angry at extraterrestrial men, this is what you'll see. They look like, I don't know. That's what, regular people. Maybe these will still piss off these Earth men. I'm sorry that that's the case. I don't know what to tell you. Life sucks, then you die. That's about all I can tell you, I guess. So that was one. I'm gonna get out of here and pull up another. Talk about that story. That's there it is. Let me putzing on the computer here. Desktop. Okay, here we go. So at this convention here, like I'm saying, it was a big convention. It was pretty well known. Here is George Adamski, right? There you go, right? So George, this is actually what happened during the convention. George was presenting and showing images. He has no, I don't think he has he has one photo, I think, of his contact, who was a Venusian. But anyway, George Adamski, right? He did his spiel. And that's why people were looking at the images that George was presenting, and then they looked at this Dolores Cannon woman, and they said, "Wait a minute, you look a lot like." Huh, interesting. And she says, "Oh shit, no, 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 nothing to see here." So she was kind of a topic of conversation at this place, and Truman Bethram was them, and also Daniel Fry, well-known people were there talking in 1954, right? So putzing to the next photo. Here we go. Putz, putz, putz. There. I don't know if these images are any better. This is her, and like I said, she attracted attention immediately uh, during the convention. So yeah, I say, like I say, you do you, and you take a look at her, and like I said, in my opinion, yeah, she's not. She's definitely one of the extraterrestrials, and I think she's very attractive. That's just my opinion. So if anybody else is pissed off that our women are beautiful, sorry. I'm sorry. We did it on purpose to make your life miserable. You're welcome. Next picture. I don't know. Can you see the shadow there? Because it was mentioned by people at the convention that she did have an unusual, her nose is very, I'm mean, honest, right? Her nose is very unusual. Her eyes are very large. Her cheekbones are very strange. Some of her shape of her skull is quite different, and she has that ridge. And putzing again, me putz, putz, putz. So here's snapshots that they were taken at the day. I guess you see the Flying Saucer Convention, Palomar, California. There's a full figure. There's her whole body. Um, they are humanoids, right? I mean, they're just like, they are just there's just differences, right? So there's the two guys. Um, cool beans. So, whoops, get out of here. Yeah, I'm done. Basically, I mean, that's all I can. Um, the moral of this is that I don't know what the hell's going on. I think I don't know. That's my approach. Trust no one. That's maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But the okay, and ultimately, if stuff happens, if ships land, um, it's going to be very. I think it's going to be very dangerous. Here's my approach. The weird ones I showed you, those are the ones that you really definitely would, the ones that act sketch. And I would tell them, like, you're acting really weird, you're acting sketch, I don't want anything to do with you. Ultimately, if you're that close, there's really shit you can do. They could just take you at that point if they want to. You'd be abducted, if they wanted to. And your life at that moment could go real south. So there's that. And then I just want to give pictures of like normal. They just have a normal, like normal. They look like a person. They have a normal vibe. Those are the ones that I would gravitate towards. Frankly, I really wouldn't gravitate towards any of them at this point. We don't know. We're basically being shit on right now. Like we're being lied to. We have no proof. We really have nothing. Everything's behind the scenes. Everything's under the table. We're being strung around by all kinds of bullshit left and right. You can't trust anyone. So, it's unfortunate. I think it's disappointing to be fair. I guess that's all I can say. It's just disappointing. And if I go up and they know, because I've already, it's just I'm just disappointed with the way this was handled, the way that the Terrans on this planet were treated like shit, were neotenized, were lied to, I mean, it's just really offensive. And the way I was, treated as well. Um, and it's just, that's not like I don't want to. I never use. I don't ever want to use the word ego anymore because what they're going to exploit is your weaknesses. I don't like this word ego, like it's a bad thing. These ETs have egos. That's bullshit. And the Andromedans are fucking egos, right? If you can float around in your ship as an Andromedan and be like, I'm so smart, I'm so awesome, I'm so much better than you, but I don't have an ego, it's like you do. And you can ignore or just stare at death and destruction and suffering. I mean, yeah, sure, once you're dead, it's all good, right? But I mean, if you can watch a being suffer, how many Earth beings, not only humanoids, but animals, right now as we speak, are suffering, and nothing is, and they're watching. Right now, right? There are beings on this planet, right as we speak, children, babies, animals that are going through hell, like suffering. And all of that suffering could be mitigated immediately, but they're not doing anything. So you have ET races that could immediately come in here and end this right now, period. They don't. They have never, and they're not. The only thing they've ever stopped was the nuclear shit because that bothered them, which to me is interesting in this story. The only succor they've offered this planet and the beings on this planet who suffered immensely is the nuclear stuff. They stopped that because it affects them. So to me, that's a psychopath or just a fully selfish. Oh, we're service to self, service to others. Well, you're not service to others. You're not. That's service to self. Right now, pretty much every single extraterrestrial race, and I've talked to Ike about this, is not service to others. They're not doing service to others. They're standing by while, if you stand by while suffering happens, you're not service to others. How can you call yourself service to others? That doesn't make any, isn't by definition service to others mean that you help other people? That's service to self. They're all service to self. So that's my opinion. I may be wrong. I may misunderstand the whole thing. Maybe I'm just an idiot. Who knows? But none of this makes sense to me. And thank God I'm a Libra because I'm going to balance the shit out of everything. I'm going to weigh 5,000 different aspects of this because it ain't adding up. So my final word is that you trust no one and don't get on a ship because unless, work directly, like I said, with your family, right? Make sure they can clone people. You could think you're talking to your family, you're not. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how many lies they're going to offer this. I really don't. But if you see a bunch of people hopping on a ship and I would not get on. Because like I said, what makes sense to me right now is that they have an overpopulation of resource right here, of inventory that's worth a lot of money up there. That's worthless here, but worth a lot up there. And they've been feeding us a lot of information about, oh, the ETs love you and they want to make you happy and they're going to come with their ships and save you. And 3i Atlas and all that shit. You don't know any truth of that. You don't know. There's no truth there. It's just stories. So are they trying to get you to willingly board a transport slaughter truck, basically? Maybe. So who knows? It is what it is. And I guess I don't want to say see you upstairs. Well, to be more precise about Frank Chili, see you upstairs, that means that you're going to go with your family, right? Not the other way. So anyway, see you upstairs.